Well, hello and welcome to our backyard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. It is Friday, June 13th, 2025, and this is episode 16 for the year. We are doing our backyard. We just did the front yard video. As always, we start here by the side of the garage, although there isn't a lot to see right now over here because this was mostly irises. They're all done for the year. There are a couple of canna sticking up. Hopefully they'll bloom and give us some color. If not, I'm just going to cut them down because they don't really belong there. They've just kind of inserted themselves. They're hard to get rid of once they get established. Got some nice daisies though. These are doing really well, and we're going to have a lot more coming as the time goes by. Lots and lots of buds. Now this area is kind of a interesting. For the last 3 or 4 years, this has been just a veritable forest of cleome. And this year, not so much. We have only had a few cleome come up, like this one, but it was just solid with them for years. Now, for whatever reason, the cleome have shifted down here to our outside of our fire pit. And if you don't know what cleome are, they're these tall plants, about some of them 3 feet in height. They give you these beautiful purple and pink flowers. This area is really kind of overrun with them, between that and just weeds in general. But I decided, since they're so colorful, I'm just going to let them go, and I'll spray weed killer on them after the season is over. But for the time being, they're doing great. Over here, we have the only knockout rose in this part of the garden. It's yellow, not really doing a whole lot. Unfortunately, I'm just seeing now it's got the Japanese beetle curse, so we're going to have to get some 7 on those pretty soon. Do some deadheading if we want them to survive. Right next to that, however, we do have hydrangeas that are just starting to give us buds, so probably within the next couple of weeks we're going to start to see big white flowers here. Same thing down here. These are considerably larger. And then the Asiatic lilies that we had last week are pretty much done. We had a lot of rain this week, and it kind of finished off a lot of the flowers that had been kind of hanging on for dear life. More hydrangeas here. This butterfly bush has kind of finished itself up for the time being. I think we'll get more flowers later on, but its initial run is about completed. Got some coleus down in here. Those don't flower, but they do give us some beautiful colored leaves. And then impatiens down through here. More lilies here. We've got pink, red, or magenta, white, and a much much healthier butterfly bush up here, giving us a lot more flowers, the bright purple ones. Again, lots of lilies down through here. These are just top heavy from all the rain, and they're absolutely beautiful, but it's having a little bit of trouble. They're going to be finished up before too long, so we're trying to enjoy them now. A few roses in the back there from a knockout rose. Not doing a whole lot, but at least it hasn't completely given up for the year. And then we have a calla lily here, bright pink, doing absolutely great. It's the first year we've had a calla lily over in this area. I don't think we planted it. I think it just kind of seeded itself over there. And a gorgeous daylily here. Another variety here. Yellow here. Another variety of yellow and magenta. Pink back in here with all the ruffles. We've always kind of prided ourselves on daylilies, trying to get as many varieties as possible. And a lot of the ones that we got a few years ago have finally started to take off. Another nice lemon yellow one here. They're going to be done before too long, unfortunately. They don't last all that long. Get that branch out of there. Speaking of done, Astilbe just about finished up now. We had about 4 different colors of these: white, pink, red, purple. but they're pretty much finished up. It's a great shade plant for the spring. Beautiful flowers, kind of look like fireworks. Got a hosta back in here, wisteria back against the fence, and then of course some big azaleas that'll start blooming again in the fall. All these things down through here along the path that look like weeds are actually black-eyed Susans. We have a lot of those in the front, but they all came from here. This is really the main site for black-eyed Susans. And let's see what else we have here. Daylilies. You can kind of see them from a distance, several different colors. And then in the background, a lot of climbing roses. Lamb's ear through here. You see the textured textured leaves, and then the big tall flowers that just kind of peaked last week rather, not last year. Beautiful pink or almost coral color daylily here. And we're gonna have some more Asiatic lilies through here, daisies, zinnias over in this area. This knockout rose, I've said this over and over again, but this one was eaten down to the ground by beavers, and it has come back on its own and just covered with these blood red flowers. Absolutely gorgeous. One of the more striking plants in our whole garden. We've got a coreopsis here that has one last flower on it. This is probably going to be the final one this year. And more daisies, and then over our trellis, of course, we have a lot of climbing roses, these tiny pink ones, and then jasmine in the background. The jasmine peaked probably 3 weeks ago with these little white flowers, but we're still getting some of them here and there. Over in this area, we've got a real mix. Talk about a cottage garden. We have calla lilies, several different varieties, these bright white ones, orange. There's a pink one over here. These, I just cannot recommend them highly enough. They're not expensive. They're low maintenance. They come back and they just keep getting bigger and bigger, and they give you these spectacular flowers. I've been a big fan since we started getting these a few years ago. So we're gonna keep maintaining those. I don't know if I'm gonna keep buying more of them because they do take up a lot of room. Back here, we've got some clematis growing up on the other plants. White and purple right now. That's what's currently in bloom. And then all these purple stalks here are Veronica. They love bees, or I should say bees love them. Got a rose. Actually got some clematis back in here. The purple ones are Giacomini variety. Here's the pink calla lily. And then a real dark purple one. They tend to fade in the sun, so right now it doesn't look so dark, but when it started out it was. And then the big butterfly bush. This one's got variegated leaves, bigger stalks of flowers. This one typically is a little bit later than the other two that we saw, and it's going to have to be cut back next year because this is all one plant, and it's kind of taking over a little too much of the garden for the time being. Here we have more zinnias, all grown from seed. Balloon flowers over in here. Daisies. Even some gladiolas back in here, the orange and yellow. And let's see what else we've got. Nothing really blooming right now. This little ice plant. Now, I don't know the actual name of this. I never have seen it. But it does typically give us some of these little tiny yellow flowers in early summer, and there they are. Got a dahlia here. Usually doesn't do too well. We've always referred to this as a dead zone. There's a lot of roots through here. Doesn't get a good supply of water or sun, but we do have a lot of clematis doing well. And another really pretty. Well, it's just not going to stay up. Maybe for the moment. Gladiolus there. And then got our big weeping cherry here. And we'll go back through the weeds, say hi to our no longer blooming wisteria. Last week it still had a couple of blooms. Actually, there's one way back in there. Still blooming. The majority of these bloom in early May, but you'll get like one a week or two a week after that up into mid-June. I think we're probably about finished with those now. Got some black-eyed Susans down here in the terraced part. A lot of canna. Not a big fan of these. I'm quite outspoken about that. They have not done all that well for us. They grow nice and big, but they don't do much in terms of flowers, and the output relative to the amount of space they take up is really not worth the effort. Now, probably before too long, we'll start getting some yellow flowers out of the green ones. Typically, we only get maybe one or two red flowers off of the darker ones. Right now, I don't see any blooms or any buds even, but down here, we've got black-eyed Susans growing up out of the stones. They will grow just about anywhere. I saw those when I was doing my spring cleanup back in March, and I thought, yeah, I'll just let them go. And I think they're going to give us some flowers before too long. Up in here, this is kind of interesting because these are daylilies back in this area. They're not looking good at all. I think this soil is poor. I was thinking they might not even give us some flowers this year, but and the buds are certainly not robust. They're very small, but it looks like it will actually give us some flowers before probably within the next week or two. And it's kind of the same thing over here. It's just more of the same. They are putting up a lot of buds, but they're not really very big or very impressive. So I don't know exactly where that will go, but probably some nourishment for the soil wouldn't be a bad idea. We do have this one here that's kind of a compound flower with extra parts in it, which is kind of nice. Most of them are just very simple wild daylilies, the kind that you see along the side of the road. So, having said all of that, we're going to go up and see what I consider to be the real high point of the backyard, and that's the upper bed, closer to the house. It was in full bloom about 6 weeks ago, and then roses and other things from the spring. But now the early summer things are in full bloom. These light, I always call them even dark pink, maybe chartreuse roses. It's just inundated with them. This isn't even a knockout rose, but it's just covered with flowers and more buds to come. And this is one of the more fragrant roses that we have in the whole garden. Phlox down here, some veronica over in here, not blooming in large numbers yet. We've put in some, it's stuck now on some of the vines, but you can kind of see gladiolus here. We're gonna get some more glads before long, and there's another glad, really beautiful, all the pink and yellow, and then daylilies, lots of different varieties. Some, like these darker ones, are really prolific. I mean, they're putting out lots and lots of flowers, a little smaller, but larger numbers of them. Big Asiatic lily here, more calla lilies. Now this is the dark purple one. That's how they look when they open up, but then they get bleached by the sun and they really lighten up to kind of a off yellow color. And then we got some white ones over here, bright yellow over here, and what else? The hosta in the back there is fully in bloom. It's nice to see. And got a couple of lilacs back in there. The one on the left has done a little bit better. The one on the right didn't do much at all this year. Again, these beautiful lemon yellow and then pink daylilies. red, peach color, maroon, more orange or peach, magenta here. Just gorgeous. Nice broad palette of color all through here. Kind of see it as we go along. So this area is really in full bloom. This is the best that we've really had from these for the 4 years that we've had this bed, and they've taken a while to get to this point, but they're all looking fantastic. Got another little pink calla lily and a white one kind of hiding back in there, and then a bright orangish red right there, and of course all kinds of lilies here. These are all done for the year. I mentioned Coreopsis earlier. It's beautiful but small yellow flowers. Still have a couple here. And then this big climbing rose is getting ready to start putting out some more flowers. Its second round, it did a whole bunch in late April, but you can kind of see all these stalks. It's getting hard again to go up the stairs. We're gonna have to trim that back. As much as we don't want to, we're gonna have to. And that is almost it. I'm just gonna show off one more thing. I usually start with this. For some reason I just decided to finish with it today, and that is the cleome that's growing up out of the concrete right here at the side of the garage. It's the biggest and the brightest one that we have, kind of like the same thing that we had with the snapdragons. This is really the only snapdragon still blooming, and it was the first one to come up earlier. We've got more, both snapdragons and cleome back in here, looking great. So it's nice to see. As I always say, we have the most fertile concrete in the state, and that's it. So not as long of a video today as I have had with some of them, but there's a lot going on, a lot to see. So hope it's sunny wherever you are, and until next time, happy gardening.